Hi, I'm Tim Churchill from Tim Talk, and today I'm with Darius Mitchell, who is a Republican candidate seeking election for the United States Senate from Massachusetts. The seat is currently held by Democrat Elizabeth Warren. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tim, for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a 44-year-old. I call myself a hip-hop Republican. That's like a younger age.
I like the term.
So it's like, a hip-hop Republican is someone in their 40s or 30s who are kind of politically independent, but we want to have our voices heard in a political party process, a two-party process. So I decided to run to represent that genre, that age group. I'm originally from Dover, Delaware. My father was in the military. I was born on Dover Air Force Base. I started coming to New England. My grandmother lived in New England, and I would spend the summers with her in Lowell. And so I always liked New England and had a lot of family here. So I eventually moved here.
That's pretty cool. Can you explain a little bit about the responsibilities of a U.S. Senator?
The responsibility of a U.S. Senator is to represent his state with pride, with honor. To me, it's try to go out and bring value to the state, brings value to a next generation. You want to lead the way for a next generation. Like today, politics is mostly about money. When you start to talk about politics, the first thing they say is how much money you have. But I'm really into like Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass and history, American history in that era, the slavery era, before the President Lincoln freed the slaves. I like that type of history and the things that they stood for.
Yeah. Can you tell us if you have a special reason for running for U.S. Senator?
Yeah, I have a reason. I feel that the country is not where it could be. I feel that our leaders in Washington care more about money than they care about putting the effort together to make our country better for future generations. You know, like everybody currently, it's Democrat, Republican, but sooner or later we need to join together as a nation and start to look at where we want to go as a nation, what type of future we want to build for our young people and our children. And I don't want to sit on the sidelines. I want to be in the battle. I want to bring my perspective from an urban, gateway city, inner city person. And I also want those people to not just look at the Democratic ballot. I want those people to also look at the Republican ballot, because there is value in voter choice.
That links to my next question, which is, what do you think are some bipartisan issues that both Democrats and Republicans can work on in the Senate?
The number one issue, not number one, but one of the important issues is criminal justice reform. Too many young people are going to jail, and when they go to jail, they're not being rehabilitated. They're coming out even worse criminals. We spend more money than any country in the world on the criminal justice system, and we need to get more value out of our criminal justice system. If we're going to spend all that money for somebody to go in jail, you know, I'm talking about non-violent charges, marijuana. Say somebody goes into jail for a half an ounce of marijuana. When we spend $20,000 per inmate, if we're spending that type of money, we want to make sure that we are putting some valuable information in these in the incarcerated person's head. We want them to get out and know that, yes, you made a mistake, but this is America, and in America, everybody has a second chance. And we want to make sure these people don't get out of jail and are desperate and continue a life of crime. We want to make sure that these people get out of jail, know that America is behind them, and we also want to help them have a skill and have a valuable family life, because criminal justice doesn't just affect the perpetrator, it affects families, it affects our public schools, and criminal justice reform is an issue in Washington. President Trump actually mentioned criminal justice reform about a week or so ago, and that is an issue that Washington is waiting for leadership on. And if I'm a senator, that will be one of my main priorities, because I live in Lowell and I read a lot, and I see homeless people go to jail for 6 months and they come out with nothing, desperate, and we could just do better. I know we can get better value out of our criminal justice system.
Nice. Who were some of your role models growing up?
Who were some of my role models growing up? My father, who was served in the military for a lot of years, 30 years. My mother, who was a college graduate and worked very hard to raise me. I don't know, I had uncles, but yeah, stuff like that. I really didn't have a role model. I was into like hero stuff. I was into He-Man and Thundercats and Star Wars and Superman, Batman, stuff like that. I like American heroes. Corny, but Christopher Reeve, Superman.
Yes.
You know, it's a difference between Superman now and Superman then. Christopher Reeve's Superman was defending America. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ever see Superman 1, Superman 2?
Oh, yes. Very, very big difference.
There's a big difference. Superman 2, Christopher Reeves was defending America, you know, when Zod was in the White House, you know, and Christopher Reeves had given up his powers for Lois Lane or whatever. It was just like, wow, this guy took over the White House, you know, and you know, eventually Christopher Reeves went and got his powers back and won the fight. So I'm a big superhero guy, stuff like that. Yeah.
What skills do you think you could bring to the table if you were elected?
What skills I think my skills of my humbleness. I've been humbled. I'm just a regular person. I'm not a millionaire. I don't hang around millionaires. But the things I've learned in the streets, the things I've learned in my 44 years, just as a regular person, I think it would be good if I brought that to the table, because mostly in Washington, it's a lot of older people, a lot of millionaires, and what I would bring is just the average person, a person who has lived check to check, a person who has struggled with life and continue to fight. And so I want to go to Washington and fight for the people of Massachusetts.
All right. In your words, can you tell us, what do you think the three greatest priorities in the United States are right now?
In my words, the three greatest priorities: ending the Afghanistan war. Every nation that goes to Afghanistan and spends years and money ends up bankrupt. Alexander the Great took over Afghanistan. He was gone. He was thrown out. England was in Afghanistan. They were thrown out. Russia was in Afghanistan. They were thrown out. We might not be thrown out yet, but I hope that we can find something better to do with our national resources and treasures besides spending it in Afghanistan. That's one. Two is our young people in the country. I think we have to spend more time mentoring our young people, invest more in our young people, summer jobs, Summer jobs, we want to give young people a sense that they belong in the country, that they are the future of America. And instead of spending all this money in Afghanistan, and we need to invest in our young people, because nothing's better than giving a young person their first job. Having that young person be able to earn his own living, get his first bank account, have his first boss, have a mark on his resume, to believe in himself. We want young people to believe in themselves, believe in the country. And the first part of that is giving people an opportunity, and that is like summer jobs. And I seen an old debate between Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. And one of the topics that they went at, they were going at it, was summer jobs. And that was in 1980. And you hear the debate about young people, you don't even hear young people's names mentioned in the political debate anymore. And if I'm a U.S. Senator, I will change that.
Yes. What are your thoughts on the current presidential administration?
The current president, the Trump administration, I just think my thoughts are they just never settled down. I think that definitely a lot of people don't like them. I voted for President Trump because I wanted something different, an outsider, and I'm just tired of the same old politicians that do nothing. Yeah, they're millionaires, they raise lots of money, but the everyday issues surrounding the country, they're not really on those issues. And we have a lot of issues going on in the nation. So I like President Trump, but he just has too much drama for me. And I don't feel he tries enough to diversify the people around him. I think that hurts him. And I wish any president all the luck in the world. But again, he needs a senator in Massachusetts that will at least give him a chance, that will at least listen to him. Right now, he doesn't have that. So we'll just see how it goes.
If anyone wants to find out more about you or your campaign, where can they go to look?
I'm on Facebook, Darius Mitchell on Facebook, Darius Mitchell for U.S. Senate on Facebook, Instagram, Embargo Communications, and we're on Twitter at Lowell Counselor, Who Wants City Councilor on Twitter.
All right. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, I would just like to say that I hope to get out and meet a lot of the voters in the Bridgewater, Brockton area, and I just want to represent you with honor and pride, and be the person that takes your voice to Washington, your children's voice, and I'll see you guys out on the campaign trail. I appreciate your time and everything.
What are your thoughts on the mainstream media?
The mainstream media, I'm not a big fan of. They're not very diverse. If I go out and look around Massachusetts, let's talk about the Massachusetts media. You see all different nationalities, ages, but when you look at the media, they're just mostly a bunch of old white guys. And I think that it needs, you can't call the president a racist or he's not diverse enough. And I look at, there's not enough diversity in the media. if you have a million, like, let's look at this Senate race. So I'm not a candidate who has raised millions of dollars or even $100,000, okay? So the media sees on the report that I'm a candidate and another lady is candidate, but they won't mention our names because we're not raising the type of money they are, or we're not in their in crowd. We don't have the political consultants. So, and I've studied this for a while, and it's just like, I'm glad that we have social media now, because we need the mainstream media, but they're not the end all, do all, end all. And I'm not a big fan, like, who owns them? A lot of times we don't know who owns them, what's their agenda. And so I'm not really a big fan of the mainstream media.
What changes would you like to see in Massachusetts in the next 5 years?
I'm from Lowell. I would like to see Lowell rail extended into New Hampshire. There are a lot of people blocking that because they feel that New Hampshire is a threat to Massachusetts because New Hampshire has no sales tax. And so a lot of the old school politicos really don't want to extend rail into New Hampshire because New Hampshire has no sales tax when we have one of the highest sales tax in the nation. So, but see, that ideal doesn't work for me because we're in a global economy, okay? And if New Hampshire and Massachusetts don't work together and don't have dependable commuter rail service, then the economy will suffer and workers will suffer because workers won't be able to go back and forth to work, which it is now, without getting in a car and getting on 93 or getting on Route 3. So we need an investment. We need infrastructure investment in our rail system in Massachusetts. We need a rail blueprint for the future, that we build a rail system that will last for decades, not put a Band-Aid on an Amtrak car or put a Band-Aid on a 40-year-old MBTA car. And I would also like to see if we can have an American company bid and run the MBTA, because currently Keolis runs it, and Keolis is a French company, and I'm not too sure if Keolis, a French company, even wants an American city to thrive. I know it's kind of weird conspiracy theory, but we're America.
Makes sense.
We're America, and we should have a company in America that can run the transit system in and around Boston. And what else? And criminal justice reform. I just want to see people believe in the country again. I want many people just tell me all the time, you believe in that stuff, or this is a white person stuff. No, we're all Americans, and we all should believe in America. That's what I want. I want everybody to believe in their vote and believe in the country again. Like Frederick Douglass and like Lincoln and like those guys believed in their country and they put it on the line. Yeah, stuff like that.
What are your thoughts on the ballot questions currently on the 2018 Massachusetts ballot?
I'm not sure of all of them, but I believe one is the $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yes, that is.
And I just think that a $15 minimum wage would kill teenage jobs in Massachusetts. Already, like, nobody's going to pay a young person minimum wage to sweep a floor or to make a hamburger. It's going to be older people post-retiree people taking those jobs, and I feel that it's gonna make the teenage unemployment rate skyrocket. I think instead of talking about minimum wage and some rich people always trying to take advantage, we need to talk about minimum wage is a stepping stone. I had to start at a day labor in Lowell, and I made minimum wage. Yes, I struggled, and yes, it's hard, but it's just a stepping stone. I want more for my life. We all should want more from our life in America, because anything is possible. And see, when Senator Warren offers that, she's raising $250,000 a week. But her big policy is raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And the voters deserve bigger than that. They deserve bigger ideals, big. You know, that's why I'm running for U.S. Senate. Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
What would you most like voters to know about you?
I would like voters to know that I believe in Massachusetts, that I think that Massachusetts is a great state, a historical state, and that I want to make an example of anybody can win, regardless of money or whatever. The average guy who works check to check can win a U.S. Senate seat in Massachusetts. U.S. Senate seats aren't just for millionaires and billionaires. U.S. Senate seats are for the people, and we must represent the people the best we can. And I feel that Massachusetts deserves better. I think that Massachusetts deserves to have, usually on election day, nobody worries about Massachusetts because everybody says it's a liberal state or it's a Democrat state. So our elections are over before election day because we already know that Massachusetts is going to go for the Democratic candidate. But I want Massachusetts voters to be valued. I want Massachusetts to be a leader in the region again. Without Massachusetts being a leader, the rest of the region, Massachusetts is a leader of New England. As Massachusetts goes, New England goes. And I want Massachusetts to go, and I want Massachusetts to get its respect back in Washington and around the nation.
Yes. Are there any closing remarks you'd like to add?
I would just like to thank you, Jake, for having me on the show. And I just want to say to the voters, I'm in this for the right reason. We can do big things on the day after Labor Day. I just want to be a good example and represent Massachusetts with honor in the U.S. Senate and challenge those people in politics.
All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my pleasure.